Here's the thing nobody says out loud. Some friendships have a price tag. And if your friends keep leveling up financially and you don't, at some point you just quietly disappear from their lives. Not because anyone fell out, just because you couldn't afford the restaurant.
And the wild part is you never talk about it. You just start saying no. And eventually you stop getting asked.
Which is somehow worse.
Welcome to Sunk Cost. 2 friends, 1 mic, and a lot of opinions about money and modern life. I'm Sofia. Alex is here with me as always, and we dig into what things actually cost us. Money, time, energy, attention, and whether any of it is worth it. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today we're talking about the friends you can't afford to keep up with. The social cost of income gaps inside friendships. Alex, I want to start with a real question. Have you ever lost a friendship, even partially, because of money?
Yeah, I have. And I don't think I've ever said that out loud before, actually.
Take your time.
There was this whole group from uni, really good mates. And slowly, over a few years, the plans just escalated. Weekend trips abroad, fancy dinners for birthdays. One of them had a wedding in Tuscany, and I'm not joking, just attending that wedding cost me probably 800 quid by the time you factored everything in. And I went. Obviously I went. But I was skint for 2 months after.
And did anyone know that?
God, no. You don't say that, do you? You just smile through it. Put it on the card, worry about it later. Because admitting you can't afford something feels like admitting you failed somehow.
That's the thing that gets me. The money gap in friendships is almost never talked about directly, but it shapes everything. It shapes what you do, where you eat, whether you go on the trip, whether you feel like you belong in that group anymore.
And it's never like one big dramatic moment, is it? It's just a slow drip. You miss a few things, you make excuses, and then one day you realize you haven't seen that person in 8 months.
I felt this so much when I moved back to California from London. Because my friends there had been in their careers for years longer, some of them had bought houses, had kids, had completely different financial lives. And I was starting over, basically. And the social life that came with their financial situation just didn't fit mine anymore.
I didn't know it was that stark when you went back.
Yeah, there was this one friend, we were really close. And she started doing these group dinners at places where the bill per person was like $150. And I went the first couple of times, but it wasn't just the money. It was sitting there doing the mental math while everyone else just ordered another bottle of wine without thinking. That feeling is exhausting.
That's the hidden cost, isn't it? It's not just the money leaving your account. It's the cognitive load of sitting there calculating every single thing while everyone else is just present, having a nice time.
There's actually research on this. The psychological tax of financial stress in social situations is real. It takes up working memory. You're literally less able to enjoy yourself or connect with people because part of your brain is doing accounting.
And then you feel guilty for not enjoying it, on top of everything else. Brilliant. Layers of misery.
Exactly. And look, obviously, we're 2 people with opinions, not your financial advisors. Alex especially.
Please, don't take money advice from me. I currently have subscriptions I don't even remember signing up for. I found one last week for a meditation app. I have never meditated in my life.
Diego the cat is more financially disciplined than you.
How much did you spend on Diego last month, actually?
We're not talking about Diego. But here's where it gets interesting. Because I think we tend to blame ourselves when we fall out of step financially with our friends. Like it's a personal failure. But a lot of it is just timing and luck.
What do you mean?
You and your uni friends probably all started at roughly the same place, right? But then some people's careers took off faster, or they got inheritances, or they moved to cheaper cities, or their partner earns well. And none of that is really about who worked harder or who deserves more. It's just how it landed. But the friendship was built at a moment of financial equality. And when that shifts, the friendship has to either adapt or it quietly dies.
And adapting requires someone to be honest, which is the bit that never happens.
Right, because the person who has more money doesn't want to seem like they're rubbing it in. And the person who has less doesn't want to seem like they're struggling. So everyone performs fine-ness and no one actually solves it.
This is making me think about Jess, actually. We were together for a couple of years, and one of the real underlying tensions, which neither of us named properly at the time, was that she was doing really well at work, and I was sort of not. And every time her friend suggested something expensive, she just said yes without thinking, and I'd go along, and I'd smile, and then I'd go home and feel absolutely terrible about myself.
Did you ever talk to her about it?
Once, sort of. It came out wrong and became an argument about something else entirely, which I think is what happens when you don't have the language for what you're actually trying to say.
That's such a human thing. The thing you're actually upset about is financial shame. But what comes out is something about how she always does this or whatever.
Yeah, you never check if I'm okay with plans. Which is true, but also not the full story.
The people I've seen navigate this well, and it's rare, are the ones who just make it explicit without making it a whole thing. Like, hey, I'm on a tighter budget this month. Can we find something that works for both of us? Not a big emotional declaration, just a practical sentence.
But that requires a level of comfort that most people don't have, even with close mates. There's still this thing where admitting you're skint feels like admitting you're losing at life.
And that's the status piece. Because friendships aren't just emotional, they're also social. And we use our friends as mirrors. If your friends are all doing better than you, that's uncomfortable data about yourself. And sometimes it's easier to just quietly step back than to sit with that discomfort.
So the friendship doesn't end because of the money itself. It ends because of what the money gap makes you feel about yourself.
Final boss take. The friendships we lose to money aren't lost because we couldn't afford the dinner. They're lost because we couldn't afford the vulnerability it would take to be honest about the dinner.
Okay, that's it. That's the whole episode right there.
I mean, we can keep going.
No, but I want to push on something, because I think there's a flip side. What's the responsibility of the person who has more money in that friendship? Because I've been on both sides of this. There are mates of mine who are worse off than me, and I don't always think carefully enough about what I'm suggesting.
Huge. That person's responsibility is massive and almost never talked about. If you're the one who can afford it, you have to do the work of noticing. You have to be the one who maybe suggests the cheaper option first, or picks up a round without making it weird, or says, "This one's on me," without turning it into a whole moment.
The without making it weird part is so important though. Because I've had people do the, "Oh, I'll get this" thing, and it's kind, but it also feels awful. Like being treated as a charity case in front of everyone.
Yeah, there's an art to it. The best version is when it's so casual that the other person barely clocks it. The worst version is when there's this big, conspicuous gesture that puts the power imbalance on display for the whole table.
It's so complicated. Why is money so complicated? Why can't we just be allowed to say, "I can't afford that. Let's go to a pub"?
A pub where you'll spend 40 quid on pints anyway.
I mean, yes, but it's the principle.
Can I take you back to that uni group for a second? You said the plans escalated and you drifted. Is there one person from back then you actually miss? Like, properly miss?
Honestly? Yeah. There's one, we were really tight, like proper best mates for years. And he went into finance, and I went into not finance. And for a while, we kept it going. But the life he was living and the life I was living just diverged so much. And neither of us did anything wrong. We just stopped fitting.
That's really hard, especially when there's no falling out to point to, no reason to be angry. It just fades.
Yeah, I'd almost prefer a proper row, honestly. At least then there's a story. This is just drift. And you wake up one day and think, when did that happen?
I think that's the thing that hits hardest about this topic for me. Because it's not dramatic. It's quiet. You don't even notice the friendship ending. You just slowly stop being part of each other's lives.
Which is why it's worth talking about. Because maybe, if more of us admitted it was happening, we'd catch it sooner.
And maybe we'd stop performing fine-ness at each other and just say the thing. I can't do that one, but I really want to see you. Can we do something else? That sentence. That is the sentence that saves friendships.
That sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is. Okay, wrapping up. The honest takeaway from today is this. Money gaps in friendships are real, and they cost more than just cash. They cost us ease, presence, belonging. And the fix isn't for everyone to suddenly earn the same. That's not happening. The fix is a little more honesty, a little more noticing, from both sides, the one who's stretched and the one who isn't. And honestly, just saying the thing, the one sentence. It doesn't have to be a whole production.
Say the thing. Good episode rule. Good life rule.
On Monday, we're getting into something that is connected to all of this in the best possible way. How much money would actually make us happy? Like, is there a number? What does the research say? What do we actually believe? And it's Alex's week, so he's hosting, which I'm personally very excited about because he has a lot of feelings about this. And I plan to just watch.
I do have a lot of feelings. I have opinions. I have data I found at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. It's going to be proper good. Thanks for listening to Sunk Cost. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you Monday.
See you then.